It's 5:30 p.m. here in Singapore and you're watching The Big Story, where we will discuss the hottest topics of the day and explain why it matters. I'm Haryanto Diman, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. Now, President Donald Trump became the third president in United States history to be impeached, with the House of Representatives voting to approve 2 articles of impeachment against him. The Democratic-led House passed the abuse of power article of impeachment, largely along party lines, in a 230 to 197 vote. The House then proceeded with a vote on a second article of impeachment, charging Mr. Trump with obstruction of Congress, which passed along similar lines. The House action sets the stage for a trial next month in the Republican-controlled Senate, a friendlier terrain for Mr. Trump on whether to convict him and remove him from office. Conviction and removal of the president will require a 2/3 majority in the 100-member Senate. This means at least 20 Republicans and all the Democrats and Independents would have to vote against him. So what's the road ahead for Mr. Trump? What's the likelihood of his removal as president? To tell us more, we have foreign editor Jeremy Au Yong. Welcome, Jeremy. Now, Jeremy, tell us what is going to happen now to Mr. Trump, seeing that he has been impeached by the US House of Representatives.
Okay, so it's good to think of, I don't say impeachment, let's call it removal from office. To remove a president from the White House is a 2-step process, broadly. The first is what happened today. That's step 1. The House of Representatives, the lower house of Congress, has to impeach the president with 50% majority. A simple 51%, a simple majority is enough to impeach the president.
Right.
That happened today.
Right.
Then we move on to the second step, which is a trial in the Senate. If 2/3 of the Senate, which Senate has 100 members, if 2/3 of the Senate vote for impeachment, then the president is removed from office.
Right.
Now, what is going to happen to Trump?
Yeah.
In this step 2, it is extremely, I will consider it extremely unlikely that he will be removed from office.
And why is that so?
Well, if you look at what happened today, and we saw in the intro video package, it takes 67 senators to vote to impeach.
Right.
That requires, because the Republicans control the Senate, that means it takes 20 Republicans to cross the aisle.
At least 20 Republicans.
It takes at least 20 to cross the aisle to join the Democrats to vote. This is assuming all Democrats vote to impeach the president. And what we saw today in the House is that party discipline within the Republican Party was very good. Not a single Republican, I think 167 in the House, not a single one voted to impeach Trump.
Okay.
Now, historically, the Senate is a more moderate, the senators are supposed to be more independent-minded than the congressmen. So we can expect to see more than 0 across the aisle. But to get 20 is just impossible.
Right. And now, could you briefly, let's backtrack a little bit. Could you briefly take us through the impeachment process? How did Trump get to where he is now here?
Wow, okay. It's actually quite a long answer. I'll try and keep it as short as possible.
Yeah.
So actually, if you ask the Republicans, they will say the Democrats have been trying to impeach this president since the day he got elected.
And that is 2016, right?
He was elected in 2016, he took office in 2017. They are convinced that Democrats have been trying to impeach him since that day.
Right.
That's not quite true. I think maybe one Democratic congressman, you can find some statements about him talking about impeaching Trump in 2017. But the real impeachment efforts started later, but not that much later. So this really has been something that has been going on for a long time. And it's actually almost take 2, because there was the feels like ancient history. The Robert Mueller investigation into the Trump campaign's links with Russia and Russia's interference in the 2016 election. This was a 2-year investigation that ended. He released the report, I believe it was March. Just this year. March this year feels like forever ago. It was March this year, he released the report, and then there were already there's some chatter about impeachment. Because the report, while it did not specifically accused the president of collusion at the time, or conspiracy with Russia. It laid out a whole list of wrongdoings, including several instances of obstruction of justice.
Yeah.
There were chatterings of impeachment, but the Democrats largely were, the Democratic leadership was largely against it. The House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was famously quite reluctant to take up impeachment proceedings at the time. That was March.
Yeah.
September, we had the whistleblower report about this phone call with Russia. The basic gist of it is that Trump withheld military aid to Russia in order to to Ukraine, in order to pressure Ukraine into announcing that they were investigating Joe Biden, which is his political rival. So this felt like a straightforward abuse of power to the Democrats, and that whistleblower report subsequently built into this impeachment case.
Right.
Now, in impeachment, they filed 2 articles of impeachment: abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, both relating very narrowly to Ukraine and leaving out Mueller. But I like to think that just the wrath of wrongdoings that they laid out in Mueller laid the foundation for where we are today. So it was Democrats like those who, after seeing one instance of the president committing or seeking this foreign interference, might have brushed it aside. The second time, they felt they had to do something.
Right. Now, Jeremy, tell us, what are, if any at all, the implications of this impeachment on, say, the upcoming election that is slated to happen next year?
Yeah, it's very hard to tell.
Yeah.
And several things will impact it. First of all, it's timing. So I know everybody, initially the thought was, impeach today. In January, the Senate will hold its trial. Mitch McConnell promised a very short one, and then by February, everything will be over. So today we are starting to hear that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi does not want to submit the impeachment over to the Senate straight away. So she wants to use it as leverage to negotiate for a fairer Senate trial, because the Democrats consider the trial that has been announced to be unfair. So that could push timing back a bit.
Okay.
The closer it is to the election, the bigger the impact, one assumes. Although, that said, Trump's popularity has been remarkably stable through his 3 years in office. It's vacillated between this low 40s. It's stayed there no matter what has happened, and all kinds of things that have happened in that time. It stayed quite fixed in that band. His supporters really don't care. And it's not clear to me how many people are left out there who are undecided about who they are going to vote for. There's the Never Trump camp and there's the Forever Trump camp, and those are quite fixed. How many people are now still up for grabs? They can be negotiated. They are looking at this impeachment process and saying, okay, maybe that's going to change my mind. I don't know how big that group is.
Of course, I mean, things are still in its nascent stages right now. Impeachment has happened, and of course, like you mentioned, Senate trial is going to happen in January.
Could be February.
Could be February. It could drag on, right? And of course, we don't know yet what are the impacts, if any, on this impeachment. On the election that is coming next year. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy, for coming onto the show, to shed more light on this issue. Now, to read more on Donald Trump's impeachment, you can visit our website at straitstimes.com.